Welcome to episode 90 of the Permaculture PIMPcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. The only PIMPcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, and practical living. How you doing, son?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. This episode brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from TwoOldCrowsHomestead.com.
Turn that simp into a pimp.
Bam! Also, Heaven's Harvest, y'all, 10% off with promo code PERMA. Remember, y'all, they got some ballin' seeds over there. We showed you the other day. 100% germination so far on everything. And there's a whole lot of famous seed companies that can't complain. They can't possibly claim that.
Dad, hey, you got to tone it down a little bit. You're blowing the speakers out in my headphones.
Oh, sorry, man.
You got to tone it down. Dad's over here yelling into the mic. The whole house is hearing the podcast right now.
You got to turn this thing down, son.
I had to adjust the settings real quick to just make sure it wasn't like overloading the system.
Hey, man, I'm excited. What are you going to do about it, man? It's the PIMPcast, and tomorrow I'm going to be processing some pigs, but we'll get to that in a minute. Also, y'all, brought to y'all by the Fountain app, where you can tip a pimp over there. You can also listen to all your podcasts over there, whatever speed you like. My man Jack Spearco, who just happens to be out in California right now, turned me on to that, and it's a pretty awesome app. Plus, like I said, you can go ahead and tip us in sats. And all right, y'all, getting straight into it. Tip of the day. Apply the same expectations you have for your farm animals on people.
Yeah.
I mean it.
Yeah.
I mean it. I mean, good night, man. I can't state this any better. I've talked about it before, but I'm going to say it because I know we got a lot of new people in there. For example, we just moved the sheep.
Yeah.
If we have one that habitually jumps the fence in the oven, he's going to go eventually. Okay. You can't have him in there with the rest. He's going to, teach the rest of them how to do it. Then you got real problems. Okay. We got chickens, or let's say you got a rooster acting up. Well, you can't have that. And you definitely don't want to breed them. So in the pot, he's going to go.
Especially if you have children with the roosters.
Absolutely. Or cows, you got some that are no good, or, want to push you around and all that stuff. Well, you don't put up with that either. And you get them out of there. You either sell them or you put them in the pot. Probably better to put them in the pot. So if I don't put up with bad behavior in my farm animals, shouldn't I expect a little bit more from what should be a high functioning human being?
Yeah, you should have lower expectations for your farm animals than you do your friends. You really should.
Right. So when there are high maintenance people in your life, or people that need constant coddling, or every other day, they just misbehave.
Well, the coddling part, you could be in like a mentorship position, not necessarily with the coddling, but you could be in a mentorship position, but you just should acknowledge that.
Or
mentorship to somebody who pays attention and actually acknowledges what you're saying.
Right, but if it's a constant, okay, I lined you out to do this, and then every 5 minutes, which I should be able to line you out, walk away, not being disturbed every 5 minutes because I need my brain on what I'm trying to do, instead of, okay, I did this, you want to check it, blah, 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 blah. If that's what you're dealing with, those are not helpful people to work with. And then you have a lot of these people in your life. They could be family members. They could be friends, where they need constant, utter attention. And like I said, whereas you would euthanize an animal, I don't suggest that with the people out there. But there's a whole lot of people in this world that are honestly just way more maintenance than any animal you would ever have.
Yeah.
I want high performing, just like Greg Judy would tell you, it writes in every one of his books, and what he tells you all the time. You want high performing animals that require very little inputs. Well, shouldn't we accept the same thing it's one thing if you got a special needs kid. It's one thing if you have a person that has some cognitive disabilities, or somebody that just flat out has a disability straight up. But man, when I'm seeing able-bodied people just constantly needing somebody to hold their hand, that gets pretty old, and it gets pretty old pretty quick, y'all. So maybe, just maybe, those people in your life, maybe you want to prune them out.
Also, the people with a disability, 9 times out of 10, have a better attitude towards whatever you're doing than the people that are fully abled.
Prime example, we were at that Farm Where You Live event, and one of the guys there, I wish I could have spent more time talking to him. He's in a wheelchair. His name is Bowen.
Yeah.
And fantastic doing chickens. I wish I could have spent, like I said, he's a great guy. And I wish I could have spent more time with him. But I'll tell you what, he's way more productive than a lot of other so-called able-bodied people I see out there. The man is extraordinary. He's a real dynamo in my view. So when you have able-bodied people that need constant attention, constant coddling, you might want to think also for a lot of you people out there that are thinking about fording up with another person. Okay, do they have a husband who's lazy? Does he want to watch the ball game all the time? Or does he know a little bit too much about pop culture? Maybe he has a wife who's high maintenance. Or, you know what I mean? Maybe there's, if you're thinking about fording up with these people, you might want to give that and ask us how we know.
Yeah.
We've been down
Through
this
experience.
road. Yes.
Yeah.
We've been down this road. I mean, where you have one spouse who's very capable and, good to go. And then you have another and they are an absolute albatross. Stops everybody else from working, or is in a position where they just constantly complain, whatever the case may be. You got to be thinking about all that stuff, especially in these days where things are getting crazier and crazier. I mean, I don't have to tell you what's in the news. Don't worry, we'll get to that in a minute. So right on to the farm news.
Well, hey, I should also say, if you guys hear me sneeze or sniffle or blow my nose in the background, I'm trying to keep it out of the microphone, but I'm going to apologize ahead of time. My allergies are killing me.
How come?
Because I've been eating gluten, Dad.
Yeah.
Hold on. First of all, and Mom is making hand pies down there, and she designated me taste tester since y'all are doing the 75 hard thing.
Well, for this,
there's that too.
Well, that's why she's doing it for. She wished she had done it last week for the pig processing thing. When I'm in there demonstrating what leaf lard is like and what it tastes like. Well, she's making a bunch of baked goods out there, and she's going to bring it tomorrow.
They're off the hook.
And I don't get to eat any. I picked a messed up time to do this 75 hard. So
yeah, you did.
She's making so for the people that are going to be there at this thing, she'll have a little extra treat on top of what Lorraine's making for lunch, which I'm sure is going to be excellent. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So William, the mantle of the entire farm is in your hands, in your very capable hands.
I think I got this. I'm going to film a shovel video tomorrow on rehandling. Somebody actually from the podcast asked about a rehandling shovel video since it's farm news.
Oh, well,
so
good.
I'm glad you're and posting it tomorrow.
See, those videos aren't very popular. And speaking of popular, one of the last ones we did was I just want to make sure we cover this one. That last one where we were talking about these guys out here looking to snatch people.
Oh, that was the second to last.
Yeah, okay.
Mom and Emily's one was last.
Right.
Episode.
Now, that video was hot. A lot of people, and we didn't even have a gratuitous title that would make people, it wasn't a clickbaity title or anything like that. Just wanted to drop that information and move on. And then one of the people, man, I wish I could convey this to the audience out there, but he sent in an email of his buddy who has pictures, and I'll show them to you after a while, of these guys, these same people we described. And what floored me are the number of people out there that are saying they've seen exactly the same thing.
There was one of the comments on the video was a homestead in eastern North Carolina, but they said they had photos and videos that they were going to send as well. Did. Oh, they did. Oh, so they did send them to you?
Yeah, I don't know if that's where it was from from what part of North Carolina.
Okay.
And then check this out. I didn't even tell you this. I was at the gas pump today, trying to get everything all set up for leaving out tomorrow, and
Can we post those photos?
Dude, I don't know. We better just maybe. I don't know. We got to think about that. I'm at the gas pump, and this guy comes up to me, and he says, "Speak Spanish?" And I said, no, but he doesn't have a Spanish accent. And he's got two kids in the back seat. He's holding up this ring. He said, hey, I need gas. I'm from Texas. I'm looking at this ring. He says 18 karat gold, but his accent is not Hispanic.
Okay.
So he looks Middle Eastern. This just happened today. I mean, I'm not trying to put any aspersions on Middle Eastern people. I'm just saying. And what it meant, I don't know. It just seemed a little bit bizarre. And I said, look, homie, I can't help you. But I couldn't believe the number of people out there that were reaching out saying, man, we have got this same sort of thing has either happened to me or somebody else down the road. And folks, you have got to stay alert, stay alive. We have got predators everywhere. I'm not trying to make you afraid or scared in any kind of way. Look, there's plenty of other YouTube channels out there that are wholly invested into that sort of thing. You'll notice we're not, even though I know a video like that will be hot, I could do one every day if I didn't have any morals. That's not the point. It was to put out this information in the hopes that maybe, just maybe, it might make all of us a little bit more vigilant, myself included.
Yeah.
But, that was interesting. So on other farm news, I'm out there doing another attempt at Dr. Ingham's compost. Okay, just did the first flip on that one, and it seems odd, man, when I got a compost pile up to 170 degrees.
Yeah.
And I'm working within her specifications. So went out there tonight. It was 120, and we'll see. Under her specifications, so
after you flipped it, it was 120 after you flipped it.
Yeah, well, it's 120. When I flipped it, it was 100. Now it's up 20 degrees.
When you flipped it, it was 100. Before you flipped it, it was 170.
Right.
Then you flipped it, and it was immediately 100.
Yep.
Okay.
It was 100, and then now, since that time that I flipped it at 2 o'clock until now, which is like 8:30,
yeah,
it jumped up 20 degrees. So I'm expecting another barn burner again by tomorrow. I'll check before we leave out. But it looks like, I'm going to actually follow the directions 100%, not, trust my own judgment on this. We'll just see how it goes. So far, so good. Can't wait to get that done. Your mom's doing her microscope stuff, and I'm not far behind. So y'all stay tuned. We're going to have another facet yet on this farm to be able to teach some really awesome stuff. So also other farm news, man, you've been out there getting tons of comfrey. Everybody wants some right now.
Yeah, I got a ton more comfrey today. I don't even know how much it turned out to be. I'll have to check with mom on that. But yeah, there's just a ton of comfrey. We're getting to the point now where we're going to have to, we're getting ahead of the growth on the comfrey. So just a heads up, y'all, get comfrey while you can. Because we're harvesting it faster than it's growing.
Yeah,
at this
okay.
point.
I was going to say you need to redefine that a little more. At the same time, I was out there making bone sauce. We were getting high winds, rain, everything else, and I can't make that. Conditions got to be right, y'all, before I can make that. And
you can't set the whole forest on fire either with those high winds.
And then also those high winds. I mean, you have a very narrow window in getting this stuff right. You let it go too long, it's burned. You got no product. You don't let it go long enough, and then you got to do it all over again, and then hope you don't burn it the next time. And it's a difficult process, and it's a long process, and frankly, it doesn't yield all that much for the work you put into it. But everybody wants some right now because it's the best thing out there by far. So I'm glad I'm able to actually get back to the saddle because we were actually completely out for a moment there.
Yeah, we were,
and now we're back in the saddle again. So yeah. We have all kinds of wonderful things going on there. And before we get into Pastor Lon, y'all, just want to tell you, hey, we're going to be out there tomorrow and the next day. This time, instead of, we're going to process the pig a different way this time. Last time we skinned it, which I'm a big fan of. I love skinning because it applies no matter the animal. And once you got that skill, you got it. But, for those so inclined, we are going to scald it tomorrow. Not my favorite way, but it does have some really good applications, especially if you're going to do country hams. You're going to cure anything. Well, you want to kind of leave that on there. So, we'll be teaching folks how to do that tomorrow and thoroughly looking forward. All right, y'all. With that said, we're going to get straight into Pastor Lon, the homesteading pastor.
Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Lon. I got 2 verses of scripture for us today. John chapter 7, verse 37 and 38. In the last day, that great day of the feast, Jesus stood and cried, saying, If any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. He that believeth on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. Are you thirsty today? There's a lot of people that have been wandering around thirsty for way too long. Why? Because they're drinking from the wrong fountain. They need to be drinking from the fountain of Jesus that never runs dry and is guaranteed to quench our thirst, spiritually speaking. It'll fill the void of loneliness and emptiness, and it'll deal with our sins. The greatest thing that we need is right among us, and all we have to do is ask for it, and his name is Jesus. You see, there's a God-shaped hole in our lives, and the only thing that can fill that hole is God himself. So why don't you start drinking from the real fountain today and let God Almighty and Jesus Christ quench that thirst forevermore.
Amen to all that once again, because really the truth of it is, y'all, we are coming into, I know for a lot of people right now, it seems like it's life as usual. I mean, things are, going on as they are, but just in the first story, you're going to realize if you know what I know, and a lot of you out there already do, it's about to get tough. In this first story.
Well, hey, for those of you, just to put a stamp on the fact that he's the homesteading pastor, did anybody hear the sheep in the background at the end? He was batting in the background.
Well,
yeah, you have to back it up and listen.
Homesteading pastor. He's probably in a manger somewhere. All right. So anyway, first story, and this is going to kind of echo what was just said there. You know, the Federal Reserve just dropped, just not dropped, but raised it up a quarter point in the interest rates. And despite the fact, of course, they call themselves trying to get it ahead of inflation. Well, what does that mean? We just had two more banks collapse this week. 08, we're already past what happened in 08 with all the collapses there as far as the number of banks. And we ain't even close to being done. So we are about, y'all, you wonder why, there are people out there that do complain, well, this is supposed to be about permaculture. No, it's about all of it. And what good is anything about permaculture if A, you don't have a country, and B, you don't have your soul?
Well, like what Andy Frisella talks about, like people complain that he's supposed to be a business podcast, but he talks about all of it. And he says we need like a stable culture in order to run business. If we don't have a stable culture, then, makes permaculture a little bit more difficult.
That absolutely is key. This is exactly what I'm getting at. We have to cover this stuff, y'all. I really wish all we had to talk about was, the things that we love to talk about. But I am pointing this out because right now, to a lot of people out there, we're hearing about the layoffs. We're hearing about this. We're hearing about that. But here it is. You already have inflation out the wazoo. The drop in interest rates haven't changed one single bit. Well, guess what? Nobody's buying houses right now. And nobody's wanting to get a loan right now. So we are heading to the winter of what Shakespeare called the winter of our discontent, right in the beginning of Richard III. But the point being is we better have our spiritual life on lock, because I don't think modern Americans are anywhere close to ready to what's about to befall this country.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to the food aspect. If you take into consideration how far your food is actually, grown from where you actually live. Yeah, there's going to be some issues, especially if you're not growing food now. Like, then isn't the time to learn how to grow food. Right now is the time to learn how to grow food.
Well, you got people that are, that ordinarily wouldn't have been champions of what's going on in that realm. Like, take, for example, Seth Holhouse. He and his wife, they were in the city. She was is a permaculture designer. Been out of the mix for a while, and then all of a sudden they get back to the country, and now they're not, believe me, I've been there. These are not people pretending to do this for the camera. They are literally working this out in every way possible. You got Mike Adams out there, just got a massive download today when he had on Dr. Elaine Ingham.
Yeah, he did.
I'm sure he didn't get the full extent of it, because honestly, until you take her course, you don't know how much you don't know until you start looking into this, and it's just on a whole nother level.
I wonder if he's going to start taking her course. I wonder if he starts taking it.
Well, let's see if he has time.
Yeah.
He's up to his eyeballs. I don't even know how he does what he does with the schedule he has. All right, also some good news. Check this out. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, you remember, I think she should have got an Oscar as Commander Akbar on Star Wars. But anyway, she pleads with Texas Governor Abbott to stop sending illegal migrants to her sanctuary city. Well, how about that? Well, heavens to Murgatroyd. And then, what kills me is that these people keep voting for these idiots. You got this dummy, and she is a dummy, and then the idiot that just replaced her, and yes, he is an idiot, and you keep voting. Chris Rock used to make, before he decided to get all,
Yeah, he turned all woke, I think.
Before he got all woke and everything, I remember him going to, check this out, he would go to Washington, D.C., and he would talk about Marion Barry, who was the mayor of Washington, D.C., got caught smoking crack with prostitutes, and they reelected him. I think he even went to the Slammer. Chris Rock made fun of him, and then next thing you know, they were wanting to halfway boo him off the stage. But quit voting for idiots. Some other good news. And yeah, that was, by the way, good news, because, it's showing, if anybody has any sense at all, you got to start saying, even if you're one of these people on the far left, you got to start, if you got any brain cells left, and I'm sure, honestly, there's a fair number that don't, you got to start asking yourself, okay, is this making any sense? All right, some other good news. This is from Natural News. Speaking of Mike Adams, food supply tips, how to forage your edible nuts for your survival stockpile. Now, I'm just going to kind of give you the download on this, y'all. Every time we talk about preparedness, And I don't know why, but people in the preparedness world, for some reason, seem to leave out fat as a critical source of things to put back. I don't know why. For years and years and years, you bring it up and they look at you like you got three eyes. And I'm like, did you put it back in the shelf-stable fat? Well, that's where the nuts come in. And that's awesome if you have them. And they put down some here. I could list a few others. And it isn't solely on fat, but there's a lot of protein and some other things in there, like acorns, beech nuts, black walnuts, which, by the way, are my favorite nut of all time.
Yeah. If you live in a place where you can grow macadamia nuts, that would be good.
Yeah, that would be great.
High in fat.
Yeah, you can't beat the fat on that. Yeah. You got butternuts, hickory nuts, got pecans, pine nuts, and these are things that really aren't all that hard to procure.
No.
But you're going to find out that the hardest thing to find in nature is fat. That is the hardest thing to find. Unless you have an animal like a pig that can convert all these things into fat. And then you can, process it and, make some awesome hand pies like your mom's doing out there right now.
And if you think you're going to get a bunch of fat from wild game that you hunt, you're not. You're going to have to start eating organ meat and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's a whole lot of people out there telling me, oh, yeah, well, if it gets too stupid, I'll go to your house, which I hate. Or the other one is, well, if it gets too stupid, I'll just go hunting. Okay, we've talked about that time in the past. Yeah, there's a reason why you just don't go hunting. Yeah, you're just going to pick it up. You're going to pick up a hardcore craft that takes a long time to master.
Yeah, unless
you're
you
just
live
going
in
to take it up right there.
Unless you live where we lived in Kansas, where you can shoot them out of your bathroom window.
Yeah, where it's
hunting
no
ain't going to be that
challenge.
easy. Yeah, you can drive fast down a country road and get your limit.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in a place like that, it comes easy. But if things were to get too stupid and jump off too bad, well, guess what? In the Great Depression, they thought maybe they had extincted some of these. Dude, they were talking about squirrels even being almost extinct, for crying out loud.
It's a quick snack.
I'm telling you, when we get back, y'all, we're going to get straight into it. All right. Want to thank Van Tesla for all the music here.
Specifically Joel Thomas.
Yeah, Joel Thomas, my man.
Kill the Mockingbirds.
Yep. Also Kill the Mockingbirds podcast. And they had some interesting stuff regarding the internet.
Yeah.
That I just listened to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where, most of what you see on there are basically bots.
And it would make
back
sense.
In 2016 that they did that.
It would make sense because, how much more money could you get from advertisers by saying, yeah, we have this many people looking at this much content versus the real number?
Yeah, and you notice that Elon Musk started talking about this stuff and then really hasn't picked it up anywhere again. He kind of drip drabs up some of this stuff out there.
He did enough.
Well, at the end of the day, what good would it do? I'll give you an example. Okay, so you got Bill Binney, NSA whistleblower, dogged. J. Kirk Wiebe, dogged. Edward Snowden, dogged. Who's the white-haired dude? Australian.
I don't know.
Oh, come on, man.
Sorry, Dad.
Yeah, dude. Julian Assange. Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen a picture of him.
Yeah, there's plenty of pictures of him. But the point being is all these guys, they put themselves at risk for a population that couldn't care less.
Yeah.
At this point, I was kind of critical.
Hey, Dad, some people would say we're doing the same thing.
What?
Putting ourselves at risk for a population that couldn't care less.
Yeah, and that's always been a problem of mine. But we know we're working within a certain... If you're listening to this podcast, and to a certain extent, I guess we're speaking to the choir. Maybe not. Maybe there are people on the fence trying to figure out where they are on some of these issues. But when it comes to something like sticking your neck out and, things like that, I used to be really critical of the people. And I was talking about one in the kitchen today that you know about, where I was like, man, the guy used to be really hardcore. And now he's kind of milquetoast,
Yeah.
And I'm a little less critical now that I had the benefit of time to think about it. And I'm realizing all of these people, Bradley Manning, all of them put themselves in harm's way for a population that couldn't care less. I mean, look at the people of January 6th. They're still locked up and nobody cares by and large. So,
do you have the moral obligation to do so though? Yeah, do you have the moral obligation to do so?
Well, you got to ask yourself: has it already been done ad nauseum, and is anybody listening? Because honestly, I've stated before that I honestly believe we're at a point in this country where only thing that wakes anybody up is starvation. All right, y'all, before I get into the main topic here, I want to remind you, EMP Shield, $50 off with promo code PERMA. Remember, y'all, well, do I even need to tell you what's going on in the world right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So EMP Shield, but like I said, I'm using it to get myself back to my crib, back to Billy's Jungle Palace of Love, or in case of a lightning strike, that's really my number one threat out there. Well, maybe not today, maybe not anymore. All right, y'all. I went a little sideways here, but I want to get on. Here's what the topic is. And I think this is a big deal because I see so many people self-censoring. And I'm talking like people that are from the liberty side where I come from, or maybe just downright people that identify as conservatives. Okay. So they self-censor regarding, I keep hearing this stuff like, man, I wish I could say what you say. And my response is, well, why don't you do it? Well, we might offend so-and-so. And I'm like, do they concern themselves? Do they lose an ounce of sleep over whether or not you are offended because of your position? No, the way it goes is you self-censor and you have to listen to whatever nonsense that they pull. Now, let's say you have a business like we do. We own several businesses and we don't tell everybody everything about our sources of income. And there's a reason for that. And in private, maybe I'll explain some of those reasons and what maybe some of those things are. But it's also a means of insulation. What I'm getting at here is, son, let me just say it this way. Every time we go to a festival and it is run by hardcore wokies,
yep.
Does anybody there, and I'm talking, number one, you usually don't get paid, which is fine because I'm happy to evangelize this stuff without being paid most of the time. Okay. And if you're a vendor there, it is 100% chance you lost money. Am I wrong?
Ain't nobody making money at those events. At woke events, ain't nobody making money.
Nobody makes money except for the weed dealer outside the place.
Yep,
honestly, the only person making any money is the guy selling smack out on the sidewalk. I guarantee it. It is a fact. So if these people don't even do business with you, why on earth do you care if you offend them? Especially if you're talking about the truth. I'm serious. Why does anybody care what these people think? You're not spending, first of all, half of you folks don't even have jobs. Second of all, most of these people overwhelmingly do not have money to spend anyway. And third of all, they're not even in your sphere.
Yeah.
So why do I even care? So when all these other people are self-censoring out here because you're worried about who you may offend, I don't see anybody. I can't stand this mealy-mouthed garbage that I hear from what should be grown men out there where you ask a direct question. There was a time in my life, I'm only 51 years old, y'all. There was a time in my life you could ask a man a specific question and you could get a specific response. Now you ask a question and it's like they hem-haw around about what they think, where they're going.
How they feel.
I don't want to hear any of that. I frankly am sick of it. Let your yays be yays and your nays be nays. Look, man, if I don't like what you're saying, then okay, I'll go my own way. You go yours. Yeah. No harm, no foul. But I can't stand this mealy-mouthed nonsense of, I don't want to offend anybody. Look, the truth is offensive. What do you think Pastor Lon tells you about half the time?
Yeah.
It is going to be offensive to a fair number of people out there. But particularly, why do I care about offending people who are honestly certifiably crazy?
Yeah. The people who can't decide which gender they are. Their gender has changed multiple times.
Or you make a case. Yeah, like you said, it's what, fluid? What does that even mean, man? What, are you flipping a coin every day? What?
Okay, when you release fluid, are you standing or sitting? Yeah, there's your gender.
Hey, it's Asheville, bro. Ain't no telling. I mean, it's all of the above. Yeah. It could be all of the above out of the same life form, okay? And you don't even know. But and it doesn't even matter which. But I don't understand. Folks, I want you to stop and think about this. Why are you self-censoring when they honestly, if you're worried about them, oh, they might not watch me or they might not buy my stuff, they ain't buying anyway.
Yeah. And they're going to watch your stuff just because it does irritate them. So if you're worried about, they're going to watch your stuff because it does irritate them.
I'll tell you what, I went into a place of business yesterday and had to run to town and do some things. And I could tell by the look on these folks' face when they saw my shirt, they were taken aback and maybe even a little offended.
Yeah.
Because it was an "And We Know" shirt.
Oh, yeah.
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 And it has Romans 8 on it. And it was funny because they were okay. They saw my shirt and then you could see their countenance almost change. Now, am I caring one bit? They don't care one bit that now people got tattoos with lewd things on them. I mean, it's like walking billboards of pornography on their arms, some of them, or just, straight out profanity, whatever the case may be. Now, everybody's supposed to accept that, but I'm supposed to hide my "And We Know" shirt. You got another thing coming, Jack. I'm not doing it. And I'm not here trying to play tough guy or be this and that. I don't understand why so many conservative or liberty-minded people are reluctant to say what they really think.
That would be considered toxic masculinity now.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yes.
Huh. Give me a second helping. I'll take another dose of that. But really, when you get down to this, even on the internet, there are people not saying maybe, even in some of these forums, I don't know because I have to have you and your mom tell me because I'm not in any of these forums. In fact, like freesteading.com, I just don't have the time to manage right now.
Yeah.
I am literally up to my eyeballs from the time I wake up into the morning. I don't stop moving until I finally get around to going to bed at night. And when I see these forums, it's even in some of those places too. Now you got people like Bobby Spags that are always going to be dropping it, whether you like it or not. And that's one of the things I love about Bobby. You got like Pastor Lon. He ain't biting his tongue. Not saying that these people don't have control over their mouths, but they're not going to self-censor. This is why I have such great respect for them, because they're not going to self-censor because somebody might possibly be offended because I just happen to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So, folks, I don't know why you're doing it out there.
Okay, well, that also, not just like social media platforms, but that applies like in like person-to-person interactions. If somebody keeps going on and on about something that you don't agree with, your silence implies that you agree. Granted, you don't have to cause a scene or anything like that, but you could use maybe the Socratic method to destroy their argument.
I've done that before, and even these people have become so crazy at this point where I've been out and about and been different places where usually I'm the only liberty-minded person in the bunch. And then you start using, I'll give you a prime example.
Before you do, it's not for the convincing of that person. It's also showing the other people that, oh, okay, there are other people that think like this.
The beauty about the Socratic method is that you're basically asking questions to ultimately, it's almost like a Jedi mind trick to a certain extent. You're using that method. You're just basically asking questions. Now, I tried that before in a very, very hardcore liberal farm group around here. They were talking about how they needed government subsidies or they couldn't farm. And I'm thinking, well, I'm getting along just fine. Ain't got no government subsidies. And I'm like, okay, surely these people in this room would want to know about this. And so I started doing the Socratic method saying, hey, if there was a way to raise your chickens without, store-bought feed, would you be interested in that? Well, sure. Okay, if there was a way to raise your cows without, so I'm basically bringing, no matter what animal they talked about, I'm like, okay, there are very economical, if not free ways of doing this.
Yeah.
And so I'm using the Socratic method. And then finally, I jumped over the Socratic method and realized, okay, they think I'm talking theoretical. So let me just go ahead and tell them this is exactly what we're doing right now. We raise our pigs and we feed them for this amount. We raise our chickens for free. We raise all of our compost. We make money while doing the deal. And every last one of them using that Socratic method, every last one of them were like, it sounds like a lot of work or whatever the case.
Yeah, that's it. It's the work part. Because they don't want to become better farmers. They want to just get more money, easy money from the government to have a hobby farm.
Well, that's where I didn't bite my tongue, because I actually said that. And I'm like, well, are you folks are you interested in making money at farming? Or are you, because at this point, I already realize that there's not going to be any harm at this point of burning this bridge.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, are you folks interested in farming and making a living? Or are you interested in farming and have government subsidies allow you to, or grants? I mean, there's a lot of farms around here. If the grants dried up tomorrow, I guarantee you, half of the farmers around here would go away tomorrow.
There's going to be a lot of cheap land.
Yeah. Yeah, there would be, because if they didn't have subsidies, or if they didn't have, and I'm talking particularly about the lib farmers, if they didn't have grants or whatever, they could not farm. I guarantee it. They've told me straight up. But when you sit here, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, I might as well evangelize what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, hey, y'all, well, I do a different method. And it was almost as if, we don't want to hear that. And then I'm like, okay, I'm the voice in the wilderness here, but I'm going to say it anyway. Maybe there's one person I could shake loose a couple of brain cells and get them to maybe consider this. Not one. Not one in a bunch. And we're talking quite a few people in that room. But I'm supposed to self-censor. Now, when they start talking politics, they made the awful statement of talking politics. And then they're going on about at the time, Trump was in the White House when this was going on, when I first went to these meetings. And like I said, I'm a political atheist. And so they're going on about this and that. And so I know that I know these issues better than they do, because they're just talking CNN talking points. And then I go shooting back, and I said, hey, on a minute. And I do the Socratic method once again. I'm like, well, have any of you ever considered the fact that blah, 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 every single point going down there, and you could see the anger in their faces almost swell instantly. But most people would sit there. I'm not saying I'm anything special. I'm just saying I've never kowtowed to these people, and I ain't about to start. I don't understand. They don't buy your stuff anyway, so don't worry about offending them. Most of these people do not have jobs. And if they did, they still wouldn't buy your stuff.
And it's not like they're going to escalate anything to violence. Like your worst case scenario, it's going to be some fat woman that tries to punch you.
Well,
that's it. So, I mean, there's like no fear of the escalation to violence. There's no fear to like anything like that. So there's no reason to not, speak your mind on that.
You gotta, folks, at the end of the day, you have got to seriously start considering look, I know usually the show is upbeat, but this kowtowing to these people and allowing them, oh, so-and-so is this and this and this. Look, I'm not playing that game. You're not going to shove it down my throat. And I'm encouraging as many other people out there, quit with this mealy mouth nonsense. If you're afraid of what they think, or what the effects may be, they're not buying your stuff anyway. So quit being afraid of them.
Everybody worked up about Elon, buying Twitter like he gon' save us. Left and right, squabbling while he got chips for your heads, calling him courageous. No bueno, I answer to no one, start calling me NATO. Digital cheese on the way though. Get you a bowl of Alfredo. It's a woke summer, I need another booster. Before I hit the beach, BLM on my koozie.
Alrighty, back again, y'all. Look, I can't Look, I know it's a woke summer, and it's about to be a woke summer, and it might be a weird summer too, which I'm sure we can all guarantee that part of it. But the point of it being, y'all, stand up and be counted. Stand up and be counted. We got to quit being the silent majority and start standing up and not playing along with these people. All right, y'all.
Well, hey, before we get into Q&A, final or last call on Matt just trying to get by. You won third place. This is the last call on the knife giveaway. So email the show, Matt just trying to get by. Remember, you won third place.
All right. So we got a bunch of email responses in here. Hi, Billy and Michelle. I guess nothing to do with William.
I'm behind the camera.
Yeah, they said we've been watching you for a couple of years. Bought some comfrey and a rice knife recently, and and in the process of putting the house on the market to buy our first homestead. Awesome. I've been growing my own food and making homestead soaps and lotions for years. We were in Cincinnati and found a full-time and working full-time initially. We went to the SRF this past March, first time, and met Jason and Shelly and, all the others out there. Appreciate your input and all that you've done. And my husband is a serious fan, watches every video in the PIMPcast. That's what I'm talking about. Glad to hear from you, Melody.
Are they moving to Kentucky?
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Unless I missed it somewhere in here, but they were down there, Drew and Melody. So, thank you so much for checking us out.
Cool. Got one on the Fountain app, One Step Closer. Fantastic interview with Greg Judy on another great episode. Also, thank you for book recommendations. I love One Straw Revolution. With everyone preparing for the worst, it is important to remember to have a good home library of reference books as well.
Yeah, that's the truth, y'all. I mean, sorry. Hey, y'all, sorry if I was a little too giddy with Greg, because honestly, y'all, you don't know what books mean to me and what they inspire. It's particularly the books that have inspired me to do and take action a certain kind of way or to change the way I think. Remember, they're less important for what they say than for what they make you think. And I'm telling you what, Greg Judy and Joel Salatin, some of the biggest influences that have changed so many different things about how I do things.
Also, like reference manuals on any machinery you plan on working with after, grid down situations, stuff like that. That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah. So we got one from Mark. They bought their client some bone sauce to apply it to the base of his Nellie Stevens hollies and to ward off rabbits. And because the rabbits had totally defoliated the base of the plants, he said, today the rabbit pressure is gone. He says, bam, I know that would be your reaction. So I'm glad this guy, California tree doctors, that's what I'm talking about.
Wow.
Yeah, the stuff, it definitely does its job. It's difficult to make. It's hard to get right. And everybody that's asking out there, look, and those of you in particular that get, in fact, I know where you're coming from, you folks that are wanting the recipe to bone sauce. Look, I could tell you everything in it. I'll tell you everything in it. It's the technique. It's not what's in it. It's how it's made. And there is very precise technique that is required. And Dad
didn't even let me make it. So,
well, yeah, because he's going to mess it up 50% of the time, and it ain't cheap to make. I mean, this is very expensive stuff to make. That's why the price has got to be what it is, because there is a whole lot in every single jar.
Yeah.
And I get it right about 90% of the time, I guess, at this point. He gets it right about 50% of the time, and he's costing me some money, costing me some paper. But anyway.
Got one from Po Boy on the Fountain app. In regards to the Greg Judy episode, this was an episode for the ages, standing on the shoulders of pimps.
Bam! Man, thank you so much. I do appreciate that.
People loved that episode.
Really?
Yeah. They did.
It was a joy, man. I can't wait to get there and actually see it with my own two eyes. But
that's in a couple.
Yeah, it's in a couple of weeks.
Far away.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, man. Greg Judy's been a long hero of mine, and I'll be honest with y'all. I've been reluctant. A lot of these people that have been farm heroes of mine, I gotta say, not one of them so far has disappointed me. They are exactly as billed as everything I thought they were or suspected they might be when I read their books. And then when you meet them in real life, it turns out in some cases, other people that you might have looked up to in the past, they say never meet your heroes because they'll let you down or disappoint you. Man, Greg has changed so many different ways about how I do things, and I've only given you the tip of the iceberg, y'all. Get his books. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did. Check this one out. So he says this is, I don't know if he wants me to give his name, but anyway, we met a couple of months back. He said, here are the two guys that were pictured. Son, I'm going to let you see these. Clearly, that dude, he didn't roll out of Cleveland.
Man.
And this other guy. So basically what I'm showing William right now are a couple of pictures that was sent in after that not the last, but the video before last. The one that kind of got legs.
Did they not want credit for the pictures or not?
Well, I don't know. I'm not gonna just put them out there. I don't know if that's okay to do or not. Not that I'm afraid to. I just don't know. They didn't say, "Hey, go ahead and show them to everybody out there."
Well,
plus,
let us know.
these guys, as far as I know, man, they could have been wanting falafel or something, man. I don't know. I mean,
nah, yeah,
it's unlikely.
I don't think so. And then also, like, some of the comments on that video were saying, like, yeah, it's not uncommon for people, like, for Middle Eastern people or Muslim people to go out there and try to find, like, farms with similar practices and stuff like that. If they don't go up and talk to your children.
Yeah, and they would go to a mosque if that's where because they're going to want something halal.
So being at Jeff Lawton's farm, I have been there during this situation. They go and search for a man to speak to. Like when I was at Jeff Lawton's farm, there was this like it was a funny scene because these two Middle Eastern dudes drove up in like a Toyota or something like that with a goat in the back seat. And they were looking for a place to process this goat halal or whatever. But they drove up. Nobody knew who they were. They like passed women and children in search for a man to speak to. So like, yeah, that ain't the case in this situation. They don't go up to children to conduct business.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, there's a lot of creepy stuff going on right there. And then plus if that was in fact, I mean, we're assuming that they're Muslim. I mean, let's say that they were, wouldn't a better starting point be at their mosque? Because then you would ask somebody, hey, in your clan, hey, where do we go to go get some of this bomb meat? You know?
Especially if you think you're in the South, you wouldn't like the stereotypes of the South as a Middle Eastern person. Man. Yeah, you ain't gonna go wandering through.
Yeah. Right here from George, he says, I'll basically.
Hold on, I think it's my turn.
Well, son, I'm already started. He says, yeah, well, I'm already here now. Sorry, man. Basically, he says he's on 30 acres. He's worried about whether or not the seeds on the comfrey is sterile.
Well, this comfrey doesn't. I guess it does produce seeds, but we've never had any propagate through seeds.
They won't.
Yeah, you got to do it through root cuttings.
You got to dig them up. Yeah.
Well,
so
actually, every other part of the plant will propagate. Like you could pick a stem, like a leaf from the stem, and then plant that, and then propagate comfrey that way if you wanted to. It's a less reliable way, but the root cuttings, that's reliable. The most reliable way are the crowns. So, and the fastest way are the crowns.
Yep.
So, I got one from Humble Servant on the Fountain app. Looked at the Hizea boot website for boots. Sadly, they only make up to size 13. I'm size 14.
Dang.
My doggone muck boots only lasted around 6 months, and the tread started delaminating from the soles. Definitely not worth the money. Still searching. I used to subscribe to Greg Judy's channel, but became repetitive. Since I don't raise cattle or sheep, I unsubscribed. Also enjoyed seeing those videos, but reduced my subscriptions to make more time to do other things.
Totally understand.
Yeah, especially if you're not like.
Yeah, I don't know how much apply to you.
Yeah, I don't know how helpful it is if you don't have livestock or don't plan on doing livestock.
Yeah, but one cool thing that Greg has really been doing more of lately is explaining how this stuff can be scaled up or down. The principles are the same no matter what. No matter what, it's still the same. Still the same concept no matter what.
And we've tried muck boots as well. Mine didn't last long at all.
No, I'm gonna get some of them Hizea, whatever he called them.
Hizea.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna use his promo code and all that.
HISEA.
Yeah, I have every intention of getting some. I kind of barely looked at the site, but I was going at 100 miles an hour like I always am, and never followed through. So I definitely need to get that done because I'm sick and tired of wearing. And then you spend almost $200 to go get what you think are good boots.
Yeah, and
them suckers start leaking in just a couple of months.
That's not the most irritating part to me. The irritating part to me is how quickly the tread wears out. Like we move animals in the morning. The grass is slippery and then we're on a slope. Like I need tread. I need tread to last and I need the tread to actually grip. I wear logging boots every morning so I can actually grip the side of the mountain. Dad's tread seems to have lasted long, but every pair of muck boots or a variation of it, I've never had tread last.
Man, I got more patches on this thing than the Scarecrow in the Wizard of Oz, man. That's the thing that's just driving me nuts. I'm like, you spend all this money, and who's got $200 to be throwing around, you know?
Yeah.
You ain't got that kind of money to be throwing around for no boots. And
we ain't been sponsored by any of them yet.
No, but I'm going to go ahead and, Greg, he tried these boots out for quite a while, man, and that's one of the big things out there. I remember Josh at Farm Where You Live was telling me he gave I just can't bring my name to buy a boot named that.
What?
I don't know. No, it was not there was another boot name out there. It just sounded a little bit fruity for me, man.
That.
Yeah.
If it works, I'll wear it.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about with Jack being in California right now. I'm like, dude, if this dude comes back with a lisp,
The commie's gonna rub off on him.
But dude, honestly, he's been sending me pictures, man, of him over here in the in those giant redwood forests. Never seen that with my own two eyes, and I really want to go. Can't wait to go.
Got one from Yahweh's Farmstead on the Fountain app. What's going on, Big Pimpins? One question for the time being. I watched your YouTube video about mineral salt and then watched both parts of the source y'all listed. I'm confused on how much I give my smaller ruminants and if I should take it out after a few hours or leave it for 24 hours. Thank you all. God bless. Stay alert. Stay alive. We leave it for 24 hours, and it's, 8 cups to a 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah, we'd have to. I'm not sure. Your mom kind of handles that, so I'm not sure. But we just leave it for 24 hours. And then actually,
what we do with the sheep, both the rams and the ewes, is 8 cups. We put it in like a cloth sack, hang that on the side of a bucket, and fill up a 5-gallon bucket full of water, and then leave it out there for 24 hours.
And they will drink that stuff like it's going out of style.
Depending on the seasons, from what we have witnessed so far.
Yeah, sheep generally don't drink a whole lot of water, depending on how much moisture they're getting. But good night, man. They absolutely love that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so another comfrey question here. This one's down in Florida, and folks, I know growing comfrey down there is going to be a little more difficult because of your zone. So depending on which part of Florida, of course, but I would just assume all over Florida. I would seriously thinking about putting that stuff either in, let's think about this. I would probably put it in dappled sunshine. I don't know that I'd put it in direct sun down there. I don't know how well it's going to do.
Yeah, probably like 6 hours is plenty of sun for the comfrey down there.
Yep.
Depending on how often you're watering it too. I got one from Bean Boy on the YouTube channel. It's called not Permapastures Farm, Permaculture PIMPcast. That's the other channel. From Bean Boy, great episode, guys. Question for the show: how do you dispatch an animal while preserving the skull? Want to bleach the skull?
They want to bleach
the skull. They want to preserve the skull, basically. You could, depending on the animal, you can slit its throat. That's the halal way and the kosher way. Like it has to die from bleeding to death, basically. You could stun it first.
What's that got to do with keeping the skull?
He ain't trying to shoot it in the head.
Okay. Man, I ain't never.
I imagine